Hello everyone, it's Harmony, and welcome to this intermediate guide on enemy attacks. In this video, we'll cover mechanics you'll encounter while running level 50 and above dungeons or trials in the MMORPG Final Fantasy XIV. This is a follow-up to my basic guide on dungeon mechanics, so if you're new and haven't seen that video yet, I recommend checking it out before continuing. If your character has this visual effect, you are the target of a spread marker. This means you'll take unavoidable damage, and any other players within the telegraphed area will also be hit. To avoid damaging your party members, you'll need to spread out and move away from the group. It's also very common for multiple party members to be targeted by spread markers at the same time. If your character has this visual effect, you are the target of a stack marker. This means the entire party needs to group up and stand together to share the incoming damage. If they don't, the targeted player will take the full force of the attack and will almost certainly be killed instantly. If your character has this visual effect, you are the target of an attack that will follow and chase you around the battlefield. You'll need to keep moving and maintain distance from your party members to avoid accidentally damaging them as you run. It will now also become common for dungeon and trial bosses to place a dangerous ether charge around the outer edges of the battlefield, which will typically remain until the boss is defeated. If a player's character walks into this ether, it can inflict a range of negative effects, most commonly a powerful damage over time debuff. Whenever you see this visual effect on the ground, it indicates that the incoming attack will push your character back and away from the center. You may need to reposition yourself carefully to make sure you aren't knocked into one of the boss's other attacks. In this example, we move to the most central point of the marker to avoid being pushed into the dangerous ether lining the battlefield's outer edge. Alternatively, you can use an ability that nullifies knockback effects. However, these abilities typically have long cooldowns and should be saved for emergencies. Whenever you see this visual effect on the ground, it indicates that the incoming attack will push your character back and away from it. However, you should never stand directly inside the blue circular telegraphed area, as this marks the impact point and will deal massive, often lethal damage to anyone within it. As before, you may need to reposition yourself to avoid being knocked into one of the boss's other attacks. In this example, we move as close to the marker as possible, without standing directly inside it, avoiding the impact point while also preventing ourselves from being pushed into the dangerous ether lining the outer edge of the battlefield. Whenever you see this small circular and pulsating visual effect on the ground, it's known as a proximity marker. This attack deals unavoidable damage based on distance. The closer you are, the more damage you'll take. To minimize the impact, you'll want to move as far away from the marker as possible. Whenever you see this pillar-like visual effect on the ground, it's known as a tower marker. This attack will deal massive, sometimes even lethal group-wide damage unless at least one player stands inside the marker to absorb it and weaken the impact. Doing so will deal damage to that player only, but it will be far less severe than if the mechanic were ignored. As an important side note, tower markers can also look like the one you're seeing on screen now, but they should be handled the same way. The only difference between these variations are their visual animations. If your character has this visual effect, you are the target of a proximity tether. This marker links your character to another player or object. To resolve this mechanic, you'll need to move as far away as possible from whatever you're tethered to, until the animation changes from red arrows to smooth, flowing purple lines. You may also encounter another type of tether, like the one you see on screen now. This tether can link almost any enemy, player, or object together. Unlike the previous tether, this one can be intercepted by a player standing between the linked targets. This mechanic can be used in many different ways, often with unique consequences if it's ignored. But don't worry, each variation will be explained as needed in my visual guides. In the example you're seeing on screen, a player must block a fireball from reaching the bomb enemy, preventing it from exploding and dealing lethal damage to the group. If you see this purple eye marker on a target, it indicates an incoming gaze attack. These types of attacks often inflict dangerous status effects, with petrification being the most common. You can avoid a gaze attack by simply making sure your character is not facing the marker before the attack resolves. That should cover the markers and mechanics you'll see most frequently going forward, along with the tank buster mechanic covered in the basic guide. If there's anything I missed, please let me know in the comments below. With that said, thank you for watching. If you found this guide helpful, please like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. And most importantly, take care of yourself and each other.